What is going on, everybody? You thought I'd be back after a week? You'd be right. And I am here to make things so stupid on this podcast that I gave him, the producer Maz, one of the worst titles we've ever had on a podcast. Maz, what do you think of this episode title? This is just, this is the perfect way to bring me back in, right? Right?
This is here. So it really is.
Thank you, HBox.
I have nothing else to say, Devin. I mean, I didn't want to start my, time in the podcast like this. I had such a good episode with Rydog. I was having so much fun talking about everything with him. And then you come in and drop this bombshell. I don't know how I feel about this, bro. I really don't. I'm just vibing to the background music right now. That's it. Because right now, this has not started off well for me.
Yeah, enjoy the background music because I have come here to make things dumb in this episode because I looked at 42 and said, what's 6 times 7? So there you go, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. We got to get back into talking about the league because we are rolling right along here in season 10.5 of the SGL Cup. And, before the World Cup, which is only, we're at 10 days away now? Is that
10
right?
days away. Oh my god. So close.
I'm sorry, I looked at the wrong wrist for my watch, but not shown on screen. But still, the fact I'm like, oh my gosh, we're 10 days away. We have to get through this. And we're at the lower finals. We're making some decent progress. And I think some teams are ready to just keep on going because we got a lot of big action to get to later on in June because all of our teams are taking breaks. Well, not mine because USL doesn't stop that much for World Cup except for the players that are on like Curacao and Puerto Rico and whatnot. But with that all being said, we got to talk about what happened last week. Let's start with the premiere. Because after being back for a week, I apparently came back to 2 5th, 6th place matches for those tiebreakers. The lower semifinals, one of them that I played in, but that's going to be on the championship side. And we had, wait, is that, no. A sweep by Casey Cauldron over Axon Army. Come on, man. What are we doing here? I thought we were going to be getting to the good spot. Did Axon Army, who'd you throw out there? You were putting clips up on FSD Chrome, and next week you're going up against one of the big dogs in Casey Cauldron, and we're putting out... Oh, dude, Coach Piglet, what are we doing, man? You're supposed to be the savior of this team.
Yeah, well, Axon Army decided to set up a completely different trio for their matchup against Casey Cauldron. They had more players available against Frontera Chrome, so they got a bunch of rotation going there. Against Casey Cauldron, though, they brought in 2 players from Axon Rose of Season 10 in Canty and Hamburger Herder to team up with Piglet. And you know what? It's no surprise that the match ended like this, but with that said, that trio pushed Casey Cauldron all the way. I mean, they were pegging back Casey Cauldron, testing them, defending quite well. Like, there were various instances where in game 1 especially, you saw Casey Cauldron get troubled. And you know what? I'd love to show some match footage of that as well, just to give you an idea of how even the gameplay was, despite the end result.
Man. If you got footage you got to show, I'm all for it.
Oh, we do. Oh, we absolutely do. Just bear with me for a sec as I get this set up. But, whilst we do get that set up, I mean, that explains why, Casey Cauldron got the result that they did, because at the end of the day, if you're looking at this team on paper, you have Fatality, Smitty, and Serrano in game 1 going up against Canty, Hamburger Herder, and Piglet, right? And honestly, not that good a trio from Axon Army, on paper, and it won't show, especially when you get to see Serrano, Smitty, and Fatality turn it on and really start to, cause problems for Axon Army.
Yeah, that's a squad and a half to go up against even Axe and Army. That's even with Thoringold in the mix, it's a team you can't really take lightly whenever you go up against them. But you know, it's setting up one of the finals of all time.
So like this is what we're seeing right now over here. You know, I was talking about like game 1. You see how Axe and Army are on the back foot, Debit, just having to defend, but look at how well they recover and get into position, you know, and even the touches aren't like pure gifts. Like every single time Casey Cauldron was getting on the ball, they were troubling Axe and Army. They were troubling. Yeah, every time Casey Cauldron got on the ball, they were troubling Axe and Army. But at the end of the day, whenever Axe and Army got on the ball, you could see Casey Cauldron were getting rushed. They weren't allowed to just do their own simple things. So you saw creative goals like that come out. Beautiful pass from Serrano to Smitty, by the way. And they did push this team all the way to ensure that, you know, Cauldron had to be at their best to get through.
Yeah, if you gotta force Cauldron to make shots like this to get goals by you, it just shows me that, like, if you combine, like, most of, like, Axe and Rose's defense that we saw, because, you know, they won save of the season as far as championship goes last year, and they still earned that. So having two of the faces come back through here, and also to get a goal back in the fashion that they did, I mean, this team's putting up a fight.
Like, look at the speed these guys are playing in, and keep in mind, 2 of these players were playing in the championship. You know, and now they're facing off against a really good Casey Cauldron side, a Casey Cauldron team that would trouble Timber's Army at their peak in Season 10. And here they are, like, you know, getting an equalizer. Granted, like, Casey Cauldron were not at their best. You saw that right there. You know, that should have been a goal from Serrano. But at the end of the day, Axe and Army were really, really good in Game 1, and they did cause a lot of problems.
Oh, yeah. You can see the amount of confusion that they're just causing just by some of the movements that they're making. And they're not like perfect shots by KC, but they're still recovering. Unfortunately for Piglet, couldn't pull out any of his SSG counterparts, maybe in Zach or Reveal or Diaz, but you know, they're putting up quite a fight up against KC of all teams.
And one thing I wanted to highlight, I'm going to rewind there real quick, by the way, because notice how Piglet was going up in the air, and Canty's right there to follow up. So when Serrano would challenge for the ball, he would lose. Now, it's a good thing for Cauldron that Fatality is right there to follow up immediately, you know, and did well enough to get the ball past Canty. But it's that kind of courage and bravery and speed of thought from Axe and Army that allowed them to push back this Casey Cauldron side. And it was 1-1 for a while. Like, I'm going to keep fast forwarding right here. Look at that challenge from Piglet, by the way. We're going to go back yet again. I know you saw Cauldron score eventually, but look at that challenge from Piglet. You know, Hamburger Herder trying his best, sure, you know, we see that. On paper, they're not expected to get that kind of ball. But here's Piglet diving up, stopping Serrano from doing a solo play. And then Smitty had to wake up, and he chose violence, because you see this delayed flip reset, getting it in. Oh, I'm telling you, Cauldron were getting pushed to their limits, and when they get pushed to their limits, they bring out moments of magic like this.
Yeah, it's like we're coming back to that point. If you have to get Casey Cauldron to pull out the mechs to score on you like this, you're doing something right. And you mentioned also about the continuous follow-ups. This group right here, I mean, whenever you're playing an SGL, you can't be passive whenever it comes to it. You have to be ready to basically take over the next man immediately whenever it comes to it, whether it be a challenge or a shot or even just like a save. You just have to be there for a teammate that, you know, may or may not miss. I mean, we've played this game in ranked before. We know that sometimes we can't trust everybody, but you have to build that trust to not only to just get the hits that you need to, but also just to get the follow-ups.
That's right, and you see how the trust has manifested itself in this performance for Axe and Army. You see how high they push up into the midfield, how close they are to each other. They trust each other to get those 50s. They trust each other to disrupt the opposition.
Oh my gosh, the situation wasn't even that great for Axe and Army, but Piglet is still going for bumps and demos in the net, just on rotation. Just knowing that that's the game plan to, you know, get KC out of position, even if it, you know, results in these kind of situations where they can kind of turn it around on a dime. You know, you have to force KC to go fast just to get these shot opportunities.
Exactly, and you know what? Credit to Axe and Army for pushing them all the way in this game. Now, of course, so I'm going to fast forward a little bit to game 2. because this one does end 4-1 as you see right here, and it does become pretty comfortable for the Cauldron. But like, look at this, look at the touch distribution right here. 27, 23, and 31. Canty with the most touches in the end, despite having the lowest score. Like, these guys were all helping each other out. It wasn't one guy like Loy Boy taking over, doing their own thing. Everyone stepped up. Now, of course, game 2, you know, Thorngold comes in and you start to see a goal fest, you know, so I'm going to fast forward a little bit. You'll see some good counterattacks like that, some good finishes.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic Thorngold.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a classic Thorngold.
Apologies for the buffer. Thorngold yet again, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. Whenever I see that Stipplegate Dominus just fly up, you just know that he's got all the confidence in the world, and he's probably going to lay a shot right on you that is not where you're guessing.
Big time. And, you know, he struggled in the first matchup as well against El Matador. And in this game, he looked like a completely different player. And, you know, in this whole match, Cauldron were non-stop rotating. It was Thorngold coming in, you know, and everyone else was, like, taking a turn to go out. And Thorngold was a good fit with whichever pairing you got from that game 1 trio, whether it was Fatality Smitty Serrano, or Fatality Serrano. Everything worked out well for Thorngold, and everyone else was thriving as a result. And you can see it as well. Look at the confidence. Look at how they were playing. Axe and Army pegged back. They couldn't deal with it. They had to respect the opposition, and, well, they got punished.
Yeah, one where you kind of hope that you get enough boost to just be able to jump up there, but if you're a little late, it just causes these awkward situations where you kind of jump and you just hope that they end up going toward the spot that you're going. But, you know, players like Smitty, they've read defenses so often, they had to deal with a lot of adversity just to, you know, get the clips that we're seeing right now, just to get the flip reset to get the pass to Fatality. So, well-seasoned vet, knows how to take it past the defense. For Axe and Army, that's that's a hope and pray situation.
And whilst they had to deal with some of those situations, they still had quite a bit of control. You know,
Goodness, man.
I mean, let me pause that right there. Look at that finish from Thorngold.
What is this angle? Piglet's stuck in no man's land, but still, the touchdown.
That is a Dominus paddle right there, by the way. That's a proper Dominus shot, chat and Debit. That's how it goes. So, one thing I wanted to bring up with you, Debit. I mean, we talked about the championship and its comparison with the Premier, and how much, you know, the championship pales in comparison to the Premier. And we talked about this a bunch in this podcast, right? But we see how these boys have performed from Axe and Army, Hamburger, Herder, and Canty. What does this say about the level of players in the championship, and what does this say about their potential when they step up against top-tier opponents like in the Cauldron?
I think it shows a level of, you know, a lot of the players within SGL can hang with the best. Now, I want to make it very clear that hang is the word that I'm using because the defense is really showing up for this Axe and Army team. Like, even though they're getting outscored by 3 or 4 goals, they can deal with some of the best, and they have to force a lot of, you know, really solid play out of KC and these top-tier teams to get this kind of performance. But I think also it just shows that degree of separation that the Premier has just to bring up that quality to get the result even possible. Like, the championship players are quality enough as is, but it takes that little bit of extra oomph that the Premier just has in these situations. But that really doesn't take away a lot from the championship. That just means that it's that much harder to score in the championship if you don't have the mechs to get around each other.
And that is exactly why I don't want anyone disrespecting the championship. I know it's happened quite a bit, you know, in the past few seasons, but I think this time around we're starting to see a level of growth from the players who have played in the championship last season, and even right now in this season, in this mini season, that we have not seen in the past. You know, like, everyone's getting better at the game, and it goes to show you that you can keep getting better. You know, a lot of people think they may hit their ceiling, and then they do something that takes their gameplay to the next level, you know, and it's like, oh wait, I've broken through the ceiling. Now I'm going to a level of gameplay that I've never been to before. And we're starting to see that. Look at that from Piglet, you know, flicking the ball forward, getting close enough that he can get a 50. A bump from Canty, hamburger herder to Canty. Like, that's a passing play right there. That's not a hopeful punt. And it's
they're looking for each other downfield no matter what. Like, every touch has, or is supposed to have intention here, which is what you probably wouldn't expect out of an Axe and Army team that is part Piglet, part Axe and Rose fellows over here. But, you know, it's like we say, it just shows that, you know, the connection is strong. And when you got a player like Piglet that can probably talk to these two guys in a comfortable manner, they're just willing to follow up.
And also we talk about comfort zone, right? Like, and your ability to, by the way, what a save right there. And your ability to play with your teammates, you know, like in solo queuing, you don't get that privilege. And in most other competitive, most other RL competitions like RLC, RLPC, MLE, UR, Nemesis, so on and so forth, RSC as well. Shout out to RSC, by the way. You still see people randomly teaming up with each other, not playing as much as they can with each other, right? SGL's kind of different in that sense, because I think a bunch of these guys know each other personally or have played with each other a bunch in the past. So, how different is it? How different is that kind of Rocket League gameplay compared to anything else that you typically get involved in?
I think, like Luis said it one of the best times, and I think he'll still say this to this day. Reminds me whenever he said, like, SGL is just like a different beast. Not just because, like, you know, it's like your league play that you can be like familiar with, but it's like imagining what like a proper, I guess, like club ranked queue would look like if Rocket League had that back.
Yes.
Like, that's the stuff that you'd be looking for, because you have teams that have this kind of chemistry together. They want to play for each other and not just are trying to get that rank up. They're doing it because they don't want to disappoint their fellows.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why we got to see a game like this in Game 3, where the Cauldron was stuck at 0-0 against Axe and Army, and Axe and Army had moments where they could have, you know, taken the lead, but at the end of the day, both teams struggled until the very end when Thorngold comes in and, gets the game winner.
I mean, if you're Piglet, yeah, I understand the jump. It's just unfortunate to not get the touch there at that point. But yeah, to even go 4.5 at that point, super impressive.
Absolutely, and all credit to Axe and Army for putting up such a good fight. So the reason I wanted to show this is because that 4-0 that is going to come back, that 4-0 is misleading. Don't believe that. It's not what you think it is.
All right, well, there goes my my shock value intro to that. It's completely wiped away. Axe and Army, no matter what roster you threw out, you were winning me over. But that wasn't the only match we had in the premiere. We also had one more. So whenever you're done in the lower quarterfinals, two teams will normally tie for 5th in a bracket, but because we're in a little bit of like a fun season, we decided to play out the 5th-6th tiebreaker between Wonderwall Black and FSD Chrome. Now, I don't know if you have any footage from that one at all.
No.
That you wanted to show.
Unfortunately not.
This is one that, like, at least whenever looking back through not only watching, but just like looking at the way FSD Chrome played, this is not a roster that I would normally say would put up this kind of result like this. It looked pretty comfortable. They only let up 1 goal all series.
Kind of a big surprise, isn't it? When you think of how well Wonderwall Black played, and then at the end of the day, they could only score 1 against this Frontera Chrome side. Now, granted, if you look at that lineup for Wonderwall Black, they were playing Turnt, Vigil, and Wham. Their strongest trio has been Turnt, Vigil, and Quack. Wham is just on paper not as good as the other 3 players, but he can still contribute when needed. It's just Against Frontera Chrome, they have both individual player ability and team chemistry, right? And they're further ahead than Wonderwall Black given their experience over 1.5 to 2 seasons. So for them, I think Wonderwall Black was just too big a test, and I think it showed with the results.
Yeah, I guess with this kind of matchup, like, especially like after the way they played against KC, like that 4-1 is like a misleading score, and especially the way they play against 5-12. We were thinking, okay, maybe this team's got something to them. Like maybe if they just got the right day, maybe they could pull something off. But again, not gonna put like too much on them because this is their first time competing as a group together. But nice little learning lesson. As we go through, they'll get warmed up, they'll get ready for season 11, they'll come back stronger, and they'll be like, all right, how do we play against these guys, and what kind of combos can we throw out, what ways can we get more in tune with each other.
That's right, and you know what, this has been a great learning experience for them. They had 2 great matches against Los Cinco Doce where they took it all the way to 7, and a match against KC Cauldron where they faced a bigger test. And they still adapted pretty well, but I think they have an idea of, what it takes to compete in SGL. And once they start to play more often together as a team, we will start to see how much better they'll be. Just like the Rebellion. I think both teams will have found this mini season to be very productive, for sure.
Agreed there. That'll do it for our coverage of the Premier side. As you're seeing, that lower final is the only event on the docket this week for the Premier side, as we have finished it out between 4th place, who's going to take that. That's going to be Axon Army. KC Cauldron versus Los Cinco Doce for 3rd place. Winner gets to move on to the grand finals against El Matador. So we still have that yet to go within a week and a half. So just to remind everybody, let's get those games scheduled ASAP so we can get this all done before we can watch all of our hearts get ripped out at the World Cup. Maz, I don't know. You might be fine. Canada might be fine. But
we'll see. With the amount of injuries we've had in our team and how rusty some of the players look, might be a bit of a struggle. But we'll see how it goes.
We will indeed see. But finishing on the Premier side, let's flip it over to the Championship side, because we still had 2 more matches that we had to go over. I'm going to start with the Wonderwall Blue versus Los Verdes side. That was the 5th, 6th place match, because I want to bring it back to the fact that Los Verdes got one of their better trios out in this time, and things came oh so close to working out for them.
Seriously, spoiler alert, they lost 4-0. Wonderwall Blue beat them 4-0, but that game 4 was so close. I mean, it started off with Wonderwall Blue going into the lead within 1 minute. Then Mace gets the equalizer, and then afterwards Trigga gives Los Verdes the lead, and it's 2-1. And you're thinking 2-1 with 2 minutes remaining? Oh my God, this is going to be it. This is going to be the moment. Well, you know what? As we get closer to the end, so not 2 minutes remaining, 2 minutes in, Los Verdes take the lead. So you still have 3 minutes left. And as the game progresses, you enter closer and closer to that final minute. That's when Wonderwall Blue come in, and it becomes 3-2 with 30 seconds remaining. And then 3-3 towards the end of the match, and then at the very, very end, just before overtime, Wonderwall Blue gets the game winner. And it's like, Los Verdes, you had that against EC Eternal. You had that against Wonderwall Blue. Once again, the same exact situation. And you couldn't deliver at the end. Oh, what a heartbreaker, Debit. What a heartbreaker.
Dude, it's so sad to see, because I thought it was actually gonna happen for a sec. I was looking at the lineup, I'm like, okay, this is possible. Because Mace is one of those players that I think I probably thought I had him ranked around like the 4th on the totem pole for this team. But he's way more of a catalyst than I gave him credit for. and that dude needs to be on the pitch for LV. That dude is a defender. He's a creator. He's already put himself into some of the top 5 conversations for the championship side alone.
Yep.
Based on his point output, and you know that dude's like really pushing through for LV. If they just get a couple quality performances with like Triga, Sky, maybe a performance from Justin A. I mean, I just need all of them together for one day. I just need all of them. Let's throw out every trio.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that trio could push some teams all the way if they played together more often. I mean, I was wrong about that game 4. I thought it was won by Wonderwall Blue in regular time. No, they had a 33-second overtime. And then that's what Trashroom got the game winner. So thank you, Trashroom, for the correction in the chat. Speaking of the chat, Skyline, thank you very much for the 100 bits. Really appreciate your support yet again, by the way. Much love, bro. And, you know, it's that support that Los Verdes needed, right? And Mace has been such a huge presence for them. Like, he leads the team, you know, in everything that he's done. And it wouldn't be a big surprise for me if, with him playing more regularly, Los Verdes get a few game wins, maybe get an upset win in a whole match as well.
Well, I'm hoping for, man. I think this team's got it. They just need to put the stuff together now instead of getting each other's way sometimes.
Yeah, simply put. I mean, and they'll get there too. Like, other teams have struggled, you know, and then over time they start to get used to each other and start to play better. I think we'll see that from Los Verdes for sure. You know who we have seen that from without much time being taken? EC Eternal. Like, their rise up has been incredible, Debit.
I gotta give it up. Like, I'm gonna do this, put this in the chat just for me putting my hands up. I gotta give it up to them. Bringing in Das, Celtic Shack, that's a whole new team. Deep Sea is free to do whatever he wants, and you bring in a third of any kind that can just shoot the ball, and this team is ready to go. I am thoroughly impressed with the speed at which this team plays. This is a whole new team.
Very much a whole new team for sure, and it's great to see their potential be unlocked like that too, right? Like, you've seen a bunch of good gameplay from Deep Sea, Huskies, you know, even a Daifo's been getting better and better, but they now have a guy who can take them to the next level. And, you know, for Steel Army, you know, you guys thought could have played better. I think you guys were just a bit too rusty, a bit too on the back foot, for lack of a better term. Like, you guys weren't able to take control and, you know, set the initiative. And it's unfortunate because this could have gone to 7. We could have had some really insane matches in games, sorry, but EC Eternal still did very well to beat you guys. So huge props to EC Eternal. They deserve to be in the lower final.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, that's why I like mentioned like a speed game. Like, I swear every time I turned a corner and I was trying to take like a corner boost of theirs, Deep Sea was just flying through another different area, taking ownership of so many other boosts that it was harder to, you know, just keep traveling around the field, and that, you know, that affects your ability to, you know, take control of the pitch. And especially if you got a player like Celtic Shack that can kind of dominate the air, and if you're forced to, you know, just throw somebody up there, if you don't get that initial challenge or a 50, you could be in big trouble at that point. That can easily slow down a defense and force them into some really awkward positions, kind of like how we saw with the Accent Army earlier on and what KC was able to do. But it's those plays like that that really slow a team down, and then you could start to, you know, just like take a little bit of more resources from them, and then you just slowly break them down, and that's how you beat a team like Steel Army.
Resources. People think Rocket League is all about your individual skill execution and, you know, your reading of the game. But reading of the game isn't just rotations or looking out for a pass. It's also resource management and resource depletion. If you can manage your resources well, which is mainly your boost and your territorial control, and if you can take away all the boost, including the small pads, you can pin the opposition back And that's what EC Eternal did against you guys. Like, there's so many moments where you guys were trying to push up, didn't have much, and you got pegged back. You lose the midfield battle, and you get dropped back into your goal yet again. It was just great to see how far EC Eternal came to get to that point, because when they faced off against you guys in the upper quarterfinal, it was the exact opposite. You guys were doing that to them. And then all of a sudden, the whole match just was going in a completely different direction.
Yep, and then that's a team that clearly looked back at their past result and said, you know, I think we could do better about this. And clearly game plan for, you know, like this future matchup. They're like, all right, that was just one fluke. We can easily make the run back. We'll go up against our brethren in Defiance. And best one gets to play against EM Dallas Burn for the final.
Big time. And
honestly,
you know what? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, the way EC Eternal are playing, they look like they could potentially 4-7 or beat that EM Dallas Burn team.
Yeah, big time. And you know what? It's a good time to bring up Celtic Shaq yet again, because he has been the difference maker. And what better way to do that than to look at the top 5 stats for both the Premier and the Champ. Focus at the bottom table, by the way. Look at Celtic Shaq and how he tops 6 different categories. That's how much of a difference maker he's been for EC Eternal. And let's shout out Huskies as well. 2nd in goals per game, 3rd in total goals. I mean, a Deep Sea 5th in assists per game. Like, these guys contribute when they get on. They're not just being carried by one player. Everyone's playing a part.
I think you're really seeing that come through, because you're looking at teams like EC Defiance pop through with more players. The wealth is surely being spread around whenever it comes to it. Especially whenever it comes to even like EM Dallas Burn. They're still getting the results out here. Look at their saves per game. You still got Indestructible and Skyline being in the top 5 for that. And this is all while only playing, what, 3 series total?
For who again?
For EM Dallas Burn?
2, actually. No.
Only 2?
No, it's 3. It's 3. Sorry. Yeah, upper quarterfinal, upper semifinal, upper final. Yeah.
So they're still maintaining this, even with that 3 series cushion. But then, yeah, you get to look at the players with the longevity, like Celtic Shaq, putting up 561 points per game. Huge for a team like that. Also, shout out Dr. Aquatic, who will never drop lower than he currently is, because he's at 3.63 saves per game and 29 saves after 2 series and 2 series only. And I believe that's 8 games, right?
8 games. Absolutely insane from Dr. Aquatic. Shout out to him for this level of performance. Incredible.
Yeah, but even throwing it back up to the Premier, just want to get a little shout outs in. Lloyd Boy still maintaining the top. Seen some Wonderball Black come in with Quack. He mentioned that he was a force for Wonderball Black, especially in the saves category as well. Him and Vigil doing really well on that end. Short still maintaining a little bit of the posture there with 24 saves as well. Like Los Dose are keeping good track with Kaser and Runsau as well.
And shout out Devin with assists as well.
Mm-hmm. That he's supplying all this stuff to his teammates, because we've seen Devin play. We know he's capable of the goals, but sometimes he just slots in real well for the assist role, and he's more than happy to take that.
For sure, for sure. Well, Devin, I think we have less than 10 minutes. We're going to need to get ready for the lower final in the championship between EC Defiance and EC Eternal. We already had a bit of a preview courtesy of the, player stats comparison that we had. It's basically a great team coming up against an upcoming team with great individual performers. How do you think you see this go?
Man, I sort of looked at this matchup and I'm thinking, like, dang, if I want past tradition to hold up, I'd almost want like EC Defiance to end up pulling this out. But the way EC Eternal are playing, it's a little bit of a heart versus mind thing. I do have a soft spot for EC Defiance, but the way Celtic Shack is playing, usually if you get somebody like Celtic Shack up against a team like EC Defiance, I would expect the team that has that player to win 9 times out of 10. So I would end up predicting EC Eternal, but it'd have to be at least a 6 games. I don't see this ECD team backing down that easy.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
All right, we're in sync. I was waiting for like almost like a rebuttal of, maybe Defiance have got this.
No,
They've been
I'm
showing
with
stuff.
you. Like, EC Eternal have stepped up. You don't want to disrespect them, right? Like, it's not like we're
Especially on that
talking
run.
about schmucks right here. Like, they're good players.
Yeah, you know what? We're both in agreement. Are we, I think there's only one thing left to do, and that's just let this matchup play out. We want to cut to a quick little break before we get this match lined up. We get ourselves situated, and then we'll get everybody back in. Enough time to get their snacks, popcorn, drinks, and all that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But before we switch to a quick break, how about we show one little clip, Debit?
Oh, yes. Almost forgot about this one.
Let's do it, chat. Hold up one sec. Let me set a few things up just to make sure we're all ready to go.
If you haven't seen General in a couple days, I hope you check out a highlight video sometime soon.
All right. Whoops. Let me do this real quick. Sorry, we are doing it live, chat. That's why you hear a bit of silence, but here we
Doing it
go.
live.
And Axe and Army get some
Not
time
that
to
clip,
breathe,
it's this
and
clip.
a chance to counter with Loyboy, looking for the mushy flick and double. What a way to end
The
this match.
very
And
own
it's Loyboy delivering on the
Loyboy
magic.
Musty Double has made it onto an Edit Tim highlight video.
Absolute cinema. Absolute cinema.
SGL's made it. Look, I mean, the way he got bumped in that, kinda. But man, but basking in chat, SGL is officially on the top spot. So whoever got that submission out to Edit Tim, many thanks. Putting us on the limelight right now, especially whenever things could be heating up for a LAN event down at Worlds. We're gonna need all the attention we can get and get more soccer supporters in here as we move along here.
Indeed, but now it's time for us to take that short break, chat. Don't go away. And we'll be back in about 5 minutes. And once we're back, we'll be going right into the lower final in the championship. A Seattle derby of all derbies as EC Defiance and EC Eternal play for a spot in the grand final against EM Dallas Burn.
Thank you for watching episode 42, 6-7.
6-7. All right, that's the last time I'll ever make that stupid meme. I'm signing out. I'm not gonna come back. I'm gonna be running shit behind the scenes. Hey. But Debit, you'll be sticking around, right?
I will be, yes. I will still be here.
All right, but chat, don't go anywhere. Debit's still here, so you should be as well. We'll be back. 5 minutes. See you then. Peace.
Peace.